The Pittsburgh Penguins are making more moves as we get multiple surprising updates from Coach Mike Sullivan, including a very surprising injury update. We're going to break that down, as well as the Penguins making another surprising call-up from the AHL. We're going to break it all down in this episode of Penguins Digest. But before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 68% of you who watch these videos on the regular are not actually subscribed to the channel. So if you want to stay up to date with everything that's happening with your Pittsburgh Penguins, it's free. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. And again, you get to stay up to date with everything that's happening with the Penguins as we head towards the end of this season. But this morning we get some interesting injury updates, and we're going to get into that a little bit later in the video. But to start, the Penguins have made yet another call up from the AHL. Stop me if you've heard this before. Over the last couple days, they continue to make call ups, and the youngsters are going to be running the show essentially in the NHL. But we'll get into the line combinations, all of that from practice today ahead of a big game against the St. Louis Blues, which the Blues have won 10 in a row. They're absolutely on fire coming in to this game, and the Penguins on the road. But they have made another call-up, and it is in the way or the form of Joona Koppanen. And forgive me if I am pronouncing that incorrectly, but I believe that is how it's pronounced, Joona Koppanen. And he has been recalled from the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins on an emergency basis, which I think is actually very interesting. So not sure what Kyle Dubas has up his sleeve there, but this is from Kelsey as well. Joona Koppanen, recalled today from the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins, is actually practicing. He did practice this morning, and with the main group, that is, of course, and he was rotating in and out of the fourth line. So the kids remain in the top 6 spots. So, of course, if you can remember yesterday, and again, this isn't, the most updated lineup. Obviously, Benstrom has been sent down. He cleared waivers. He is now down in the AHL with the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. So close to what it's probably going to look like. And again, you got McGroarty up there on the first line with Sidney Crosby. Kuvanen's up there. He made his debut just the other day as well. We're going to touch on that a little bit later as well. But those guys continue to run the show in the top 6. But now, rotating in and out on the fourth line, pretty interesting. And again, those are some of the defense pairings that we got going into the next game as well. But yeah, Koppanen has been recalled, and he is rotating on in and out of the fourth line. Now, this is from practice. This is as well is from Kelsey. Again, following the Penguins practice on Wednesday, she spoke with Joona Koppanen about the opportunities that Wilkes-Barre Scranton players like him, Rutger McGroarty, and of course Ville Kuvanen have received. This and more, including a Malkin injury update, which we'll get to in a second. But I thought it was actually very interesting, a couple of the things in this article. And Koppanen said, "It's awesome. It's always nice to be here and get a chance to show my game here and try to be here as long as possible." And Koppanen also mentioned that it's nice and also not to be confused with Kapanen, who was a Pittsburgh Penguin not too long ago. Kasperi Kapanen, not the same player. But Koppanen also mentioned that it's nice to be sharing the opportunity with guys like McGroarty and Kuvanen, who were just down there with the baby Pens as well in the AHL. A fellow Finnish player as well, especially since they've worked to build a winning culture in Wilkes-Barre Scranton. And again, once this season ends, these guys will probably go back down to the baby Pens and probably have a pretty significant impact for the rest of the season. So that's going to be interesting to watch too, what they're able to do in the AHL the rest of the year once the Penguins season has officially wrapped up. I keep saying Penguins, obviously both teams are named Penguins, but the NHL Pittsburgh Penguins, once their season is wrapped up, it's going to be interesting to see what those guys going back down to the AHL can do. The team is trying to win its first ever Calder Cup, and I think it could with some of the talent that's here. And it's going to be interesting to see what they do the rest of the way, and obviously heading forward and moving forward into the future for the Pittsburgh Penguins. It's going to be nice to keep tabs on them. But of course, this was kind of what they were rotating in practice this morning. So again, like we covered, the top two lines kind of untouched. Connor Dewar and Connor Timmins have been pretty good since coming over from Toronto. Connor Timmins actually playing his offside, which I think is interesting here in Pittsburgh. So that's something to keep an eye on as well. But again, Kevin Hayes, Noel Acciari, Philip Tomasino, fantastic third line there. Tomasino has been pretty good since coming over from the Nashville Predators. Very hot to start when he was originally traded over to the Penguins. But you can see here that Bemstrom obviously cleared waivers yesterday, but he's swapping in and out here on the fourth line with Koppanen. So very interesting there. And Koppanen is up, like we mentioned, on an emergency basis, an emergency call-up. So we'll see what happens with that. Maybe Malkin's coming back. We'll see what Kyle Dubas has up his sleeve exactly. But again, this is the lines that they were running in practice this morning, so feel free to pause and take a look if you would like. But in terms of an injury update, we'll get to that in a second. The last thing I wanted to touch on is obviously Koppanen's stats. And if you take a look here, he's most well known for being in the Boston Bruins organization for the majority of his career. Obviously came over to the Penguins in 2023, 24. And, you know, throughout his career, mostly an AHL player. He's probably just going to get a look here, maybe on an emergency basis with the Pittsburgh Penguins as a fourth liner. Hasn't done anything crazy this season. I mean, he only has 22 points in 55 AHL games. So, again, not a regular everyday NHLer. He's 27 years old already at this point. But interesting call up just to see what they're going to do with some of the roster moves and stuff like that. But we will see what Kyle Dubas has up his sleeve in that regard. But in terms of an injury update, obviously Evgeni Malkin has been on the IR for a while here. At this point, he has missed some time. And Mike Sullivan at practice today mentioned that one injured player will travel with the team. And again, this is from the original article from Kelsey. Go check out the whole article if you want some other updates. It was a great article there. But on their 3-game road trip starting Thursday against the St. Louis Blues. And that forward is Evgeni Malkin, who is still day-to-day. So Malkin is going to be traveling with the team and could play on this road trip. And defenseman Pierre-Olivier Joseph skated on the injured ice before, obviously, I guess, you know, a different pad, not the ice is literally injured, I guess, but the ice before practice, while forward Tommy Novak continues his off-ice program. So a couple injury updates there for the Pittsburgh Penguins that I think are very interesting. And again, Evgeni Malkin looks like he could be returning shortly. He is still labeled as day-to-day, but will be traveling with the team on this road trip, which I think is very interesting and something to keep an eye on. And again, in terms of the rookies and the fact that they are up with the team right now and probably will be for the rest of the season, which I think is pretty cool. You know, they were talking about, you know, the rookie lap, stuff like that. Again, pause this if you want to read it. It's from a similar article, but, you know, they were talking about the rookie laps, all that stuff. This is from an article from Matt Vensel. So go check it out about, you know, some quotes from players talking about like Sidney Crosby about his time as a rookie as well, looking back and seeing all these young guys with the team now and what it means to him. So pretty cool. And McGroarty was saying that, you know, he was excited going no helmet in the warm-up and stuff like that. And you only get one rookie lap, so he was trying to enjoy it. So pretty cool stuff there for some of the Penguins rookies. And again, one last thing before we wrap up, Sidney Crosby getting into luxury watches, as according to Greg Wyshynski here. So the Penguin star is now a shareholder and brand ambassador for Norwegian Watches, a Swiss watch company co-founded by other NHL players. So just wanted to mention that. Some other Penguins news, some miscellaneous Pittsburgh Penguins news today on the docket. But that'll pretty much wrap it up for this video. Let me know what you think about Koppanen being called up to the NHL. It's on an emergency basis. Obviously, Benstrom's still around with the team. The lineup is looking very interesting heading into this road trip. Evgeni Malkin could be returning soon. We also get some updates on some other players. Should be an interesting week here for the Pittsburgh Penguins and a couple interesting games coming up. But let me know what you think in the comments. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything Pittsburgh Penguins.